Today, an FBI agent involved with the Hunter Biden laptop resigns. Doctors in Florida are upset. They have a SADS because they can't perform gender transition surgery on children. And Karine Jean-Pierre continues to claim the White House was never briefed on the Mar-a-Lago raid. I find that very hard to believe. We've got all of that and more coming up, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by BlazeTV contributor and host of Heck Off Commie, I'm told, John Doyle.
Yep, I'm here.
Alrighty then, moving right along, we've got also joining us at the table, Taylor Hanson, investigative journalist, and my new trans friend from the event.
It's Jenny, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my preferred name is Jenny.
Jenny Hanson, who, of course, went and infiltrated the recent drag event along with me, except he looked way more lovely than I did.
I will say, I look banging.
Oh, Oh, good. They pulled up the picture. There was. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But that doesn't even do it justice.
No, you got to see the skirt.
Yeah. I was going to say we won't get too derailed talking about Taylor in a dress. I want to get to the headlines of the day, starting with Timothy Thibault. This is a top FBI official who, according to the Republicans in office, they say he put the kibosh on the probe of Hunter Biden's laptop before the 2020 election, apparently resigned last week and was escorted from headquarters. According to Senator Chuck Grassley, he hid evidence from FBI Director Chris Wray and, of course, AG Merrick Garland in order to win their approval to open an investigation of Trump. Senator Ron Johnson also weighed in here that whistleblowers have told him the FBI barred agents from investigating the laptop. And gosh, isn't it interesting how all of a sudden, all of these slow details about the deep state. Oops, did I say that? I know that's a no-no word, except that it's just entirely true that there is a deep state that is making decisions and running the country unbeknownst to anyone else, sometimes even the president of the United States, at least when it is, in fact, Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, they've got their patsy, they've got their fall guy now, but there's not going to be any accountability beyond like these articles getting written. You know, we say, we got them, but nothing's going to happen. I mean, what are these agencies supposed to hold themselves accountable? It's just unrealistic. And, you know, we use the term deep state and it sounds very conspiratorial and ominous. It's much less interesting, though it is true. It's literally just this anonymous bureaucracy of people who aren't elected, who exist in D.C., whether it's the FBI, CIA, ATF, you know, all of these three-letter agencies just exist and they have no term limits and we don't elect them, they just exist. And when there's a president like Barack Obama or someone occupying the title like Joe Biden, they just conduct business as usual. And then when there's someone in there like Donald Trump, what we found out is they just don't follow orders and they just continue to do things as they normally would. And so this is why the executive branch under Donald Trump is different than the executive branch under Barack Obama or even under someone like FDR or Abe Lincoln. Like, the president does have the constitutional authority to define what that is. And Trump, I don't think, had the constitutional literacy at the time, nor did his advisors to really do something that would have changed that. But the good news is that there are articles being written from people in his circle now who are saying he understands what has to happen if he gets back in 2024, which is to actually purge the deep state, fire all these bureaucrats, replace them with people who are loyal to America. And that's why they're actually scared and doing things like this to go after Trump in the meantime.
Yeah, Taylor.
I don't think Big Brain Doyle could have put it any better, honestly. I mean,
is that his nickname?
I mean, I'm a man of many hats, but
Big Brain Doyle.
I mean, but
sure.
there won't be any accountability, like he said. The FBI. It's like when the government investigates itself and they found that they did nothing wrong. It's the exact same thing. The most accountability you're going to get from this is this article being written. And, that's, slap on the wrist, you're good to go. Let's go terrorize some more American citizens, set them up, maybe torture some more mentally ill people, because the FBI is really good at that.
It does get kind of scary because, I mean, you think about what happens to the people who are paying attention to what's going on within the FBI. And I know both of you guys, Taylor, paid a lot of close attention to what's going on at the FBI, but it seems to be this like cyclical.
She's trying to get us killed.
I'm not.
I've literally said on the show once, just do it already.
She's like, John Doyle and Taylor Hanson are closely monitoring the situation.
Especially Taylor Hanson.
Yeah.
No,
Taylor Hanson at 2475.
I'm just saying it feels like they're just setting us up to be in this cyclical trap of they are doing things that we all can see are wrong. They're gaming the system, right? They're rigging the system in their favor. We all see things like with this happening, and we're like, that's wrong, and we need to stop it from happening. But then they come in and they start calling anyone who protests against it a domestic terrorist. So, and then you get gaslit even more, and you get angry, and they're going to game the system more, and you get angrier. And then when someone finally pops the top, and perhaps after they get escorted in, let in by police into a place like the Capitol, they start going crazy. And then the FBI and the DOJ and everyone else gets to go, see, we told you guys that they were crazy extremist Republicans. Look at these crazy people. And it's just like this epic game of gaslighting that never ends.
That's exactly what it is. And, the FBI has this thing where, they talk about right-wing radical extremists or they talk about domestic terrorists. And they'll push and push and push somebody. They'll target an individual, and usually this individual is mentally ill, depending on the situations, but in the bombing situations, for the most part, is they'll target an individual that they know has mental, illness or has some problems with critical thinking and decision making, and then next thing you know, oh, look, this person planted bombs, but they push you in a corner and push you in a corner until they essentially radicalize you, and then they say, oh, look, we got one of those terrorists we're talking about, even though they created the terrorists.
Mm-hmm. John?
Yeah, and I think conservatives need to wake up to the reality that this myth of the neutral institution is simply a myth. Like the FBI is this professional bipartisan group of people.
There's good guys in there.
Yeah, and there's these children just fighting over the toy, and the FBI is going to come in and be like, okay, let's have some real justice.
There's
here.
only a few bad seeds within the FBI.
And it's just not true. And I mean, they're claiming that white people or white nationalists or whatever are the only and the biggest threat to the country and domestic terrorism and things like that. But there are virtually no examples of this unless, like you said, they are groomed into doing these things, and they just slap the label white on some trans Hispanic guy or something. But if you look at actual terrorism, which I think by definition is simply threatening violence or using violence to achieve a political end.
FBI does.
So the FBI does. Or even these Antifa LARPers the other day outside of, by the way, in Texas, this place that was hosting a drag event for kids, they're standing there in black bloc with AR-15s, literally intimidating people, if you do anything to try to stop this, we're going to shoot you. We would love to shoot you, and nothing's going to happen because we're in black bloc. The FBI doesn't acknowledge us to be a terrorist group. Liberal district attorneys in Dallas suburbs, what, you think they're going to go after us? No, they were literally waiting to do that. And the plurality of the response from the right was to look at these photos and be like, you know what? Antifa exercising their Second Amendment? I support that. Damn it.
By golly, OG.
Yeah, it's I'm getting lined up against a wall to be shot. My skull's going to be chipped away like a porcelain doll by these people. And I'm going to be thinking to myself, actually, I've won because I got them to support the Second Amendment.
It is real. I mean, you have to laugh so you don't cry is the problem. It is really
whenever I see the right celebrate, Antifa or BLM, being armed it's laughable to me because literally the whole reason they're armed is because they want to kill you.
Yeah. It's what? So you're saying you don't support gun rights for communists? Correct. Yeah, that is
Well,
that is
I
true.
had an argument with somebody. I wouldn't say it was an argument, but one of the John Brown Gun Club members that was actually out there with the AR-15s, and I told him, and I was like, I'm totally fine for you exercising your Second Amendment, but when you show up to a child drag show, then defend a child drag show, and you guys are on testosterone blockers, you guys are on all these hormonal, your hormones are through the roof. I said, you guys shouldn't be handling a gun, and especially because you guys aren't well trained. Yeah, you have 1 to 2 of them, the leaders of the group, that actually know how to handle a rifle. And then meanwhile, you had the other ones flagging people the entire time with their AR-15s. It's you guys shouldn't even be able to own this anyway because of all the crap you inject into your body.
I just want to know why they find it to be okay that they want armed security now for drag queens, but not for our school children. I find that fascinating. AR-15s are just fine when you're protecting drag queens, but please don't put armed security inside people's schools. Then we might be able to save some children. That would be really bad because, when we're the left, we kind of want to eliminate them in the womb. Why would we want them to grow up?
Well, it's the same thing with, it's a perfect example, is when, is Elijah Dickinson? The guy that stopped the mall shooter. When he shot the mall shooter and that story came out, you had the left and Antifa especially saying, oh, he shouldn't have been armed in there.
Right.
You're like, So you want a mass shooting, and then you can then get the political narrative and bring it back full circle and then shove it in the right's face. Okay, it makes sense.
Yeah. I want to bring up one other story here before we have to go to break. The Biden administration has confirmed that the student loan forgiveness that they are offering it's not going to be a taxable event at the federal level for borrowers, but it could be at the state level. So there are 13 states that could treat Biden's student loan forgiveness as taxable income. This is Arkansas, Hawaii, Idaho, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Mississippi, New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. And borrowers could incur anywhere from $300 to over $1,000 in state taxes, depending on the specific state, if they receive this $10,000 student loan forgiveness plan. This is according to the Tax Foundation. And of course, if you received a Pell Grant, these recipients are eligible for $20,000, not the $10,000. So those figures could double if you are a Pell Grant recipient who does in fact take advantage of the student loan debt forgiveness. And it just pisses me off every time they use the word forgiveness, because it's not a forgiveness, it is being paid for in other ways.
I completely agree. I would like to clarify my take earlier about communists not deserving gun rights. Okay, look. The framers of our Constitution, I think it was James Madison, the father of our Constitution, he said that this Constitution, this document that they had constructed, was, quote, wholly inadequate for any group of people who was not moral and religious. If you look at people who are arming themselves, standing outside of these places, knowing that children are going to be exposed to this material, they are not moral and religious. That type of population can't be trusted with the Second Amendment and gun rights, frankly. And the problem is that conservatives, if they admit to themselves that class of people no longer exists who could handle that type of freedom and responsibility, then they know that they've lost because they haven't conserved anything. And then the whole industry, which makes a lot of people a lot of money, just melts away.
You know what other industry makes a lot of people a lot of money? The student loan industry, which is what I was talking about.
And the Trans Surgery Institute,
That's
which
not what I
we
was talking
will be
about.
talking about, because I read the outline that the producer sent me.
Wow, I know. I was about to say that's
you
coming
did?
up next. That's great.
I will
Does
add
anyone
on
want to give
to
me
what,
anything
to
for
what
the student
you
loan?
were talking
Thank
about
you,
on the
Taylor.
student loans is I love paying for other people's mistakes. I
Don't
love
you?
paying for the gender ideology degrees.
Yeah.
I wish that they snuck something in the bill that would have us as American taxpayers pay for gender reassignment surgeries, affirmating care for minors, because I think that's
dear
really
God,
what we need
Don't give them
here.
any ideas, please.
I don't
For the
like
love of
that
God.
Taylor just made me look insubordinate to the host of the show. First trans Antifa militant who gets this guy, I will pay for your sex reassignment surgery.
I just, you have to wonder if this is going to, you keep seeing all of these radical moves that the Biden administration is making, and you keep going like, how is there anybody left at this point that is willing to vote for these people, other than, I guess, the people who have student debt that they want diminished?
The
I don't know. I
NPCs.
mean, because I just think of the average, the moderate Democrat. I don't know how many of them are left. Certainly not in the lawmakers. There are not moderate Democrats left. They're only radicals. But let's take the average American who happens to be a Democrat, who is a hard worker. Maybe they're blue collar or whatever, and they just think that they've always been Democrat and they must be Democrat. And they've got to be looking at this going like, guys, I can't hardly afford to feed my families. I can hardly afford to fill up my gas tank. And you're telling me that now I'm supposed to help make all of these student loan debts magically disappear? How in the world can we sustain that? I mean, you have to think. I realize a lot of voters are really freaking stupid. I just feel like this has to resonate with people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think the average bill for an American taxpayer for this is going to be about $2,000. And you're not going to convince me, firstly, that this is a just thing to do, but also, even if it were, you're not going to convince me that like they received $2,000 worth of education. Like, I don't believe that I spent $2,000 on this and then had the general population increase by about $2,000 worth of intelligence, because college is a total scam. I mean, they started noticing that like, oh, people who go to university tend to be brilliant. And then they're like, well, the boomers were like, if I just send my kid there, they're going to be brilliant too. And it's like, now you've lowered the average intelligence of what it means to have a college degree. Anybody, it's like a driver's license.
Yeah.
If you show up, turn in the documents, pay the fee, you're going to get a college degree. It says nothing about you. And frankly, the whole university system basically only existed as a proxy for IQ tests for employers, because they made that illegal because it was racist or whatever. Now they're doing the same thing with standardized tests to get into college. The whole thing is a scam. It's not real. Yeah.
Taylor, last word.
I agree. College is a scam. If you're going to spend money on college, don't. That's the easiest way to answer this question is just don't spend money on colleges. You have these, I don't think this, the whole student loan forgiveness thing is really going to have that big of a sway with voters like they say it is. Yeah, it might buy some votes, whatever, but it's not going to have a negative sway for the Democrats like a lot of people think, is because their voters are so low IQ. I mean,
so
literally,
stupid.
these people, and I wish I could reach across the aisle and say, slap them and wake them up, but you can't because they're so programmed. It's literally a game program at this point. It's like we live in a video game.
Yeah.
I mean, it might as well be GTA 5 if you go and look at Chicago or these other Democrat-ran cities. It would be a lot more fun if it was GTA 5. I will say so myself. But no, these people are very low IQ. They can't really even think for themselves. I wonder if they are even capable of getting up in the morning and making themselves breakfast.
I wonder that too, very often. All right, we got to take a quick break. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Cozy Earth. So Cozy Earth is my new favorite bed sheets. I discovered them, and now they're a sponsor of my show, and I could not be happier to support them because I have to tell you, I'm not making it up. So we have a pair of Cozy Earth sheets, which is the softest sheets I have ever slept on, and they're self-regulating for the temperature, so like they're always cool. You're not going to sleep hot in these sheets, and they're made from bamboo, which you would think you're like, bamboo is wood, that would be very rough on your skin, but it's not. In the way that they process it, it is the softest thing that you will put on your body whenever you go to sleep. So look, Cozy Earth. We've got one pair of Cozy Earth sheets for our bed, and we've got another pair that's non-Cozy Earth sheets. And whenever we're washing the sheets, I will not put the spare sheets on the bed. I will wash the Cozy Earth sheets and dry them and then just put those back on the bed because I don't want to sleep on any other sheets. Trust me when I tell you, you got to go there and get you some. You can save 35% on Cozy Earth's truly awesome bedding if you go to CozyEarth.com/Y. Enter my special promo code Y at checkout to save 35%. It is backed by a 100-night trial, so you have nothing to lose if you go over to CozyEarth.com/Y, promo code Y. Medical professionals and parents in Florida are complaining. They're really sad, you guys, because the, of course, highly controversial transgender treatment of children is becoming, as it turns out, when you have a based governor, a lot harder to actually perform. So all of these pediatric centers who do this, they've stopped taking on patients to their gender clinics. They've stopped prescribing puberty blockers and hormones, which I find to be amazing news. Like, I would love to celebrate that. I wish we had some champagne. I would pop a cork. But this chief of pediatric endocrinology at the University of Florida, Michael Haller, was actually characterized as complaining about this in this particular story. Miami's Nicholas Children's Hospital is one of the facilities no longer taking on kids in its gender program, and the hospital removed the gender program page from its website. Another Miami plastic surgeon, Dr. Gallagher, specializing in gender transitions, including on children, said that hospitals are unwilling to allow her to use its operating rooms to perform all of these surgeries. A mother of a 16-year-old biological girl complained that her child's double mastectomy, can I please I need to make sure that I am explaining to you how serious this is. A 16-year-old's double mastectomy, not because she has early breast cancer, because her mother convinced her that she needs to chop off her breasts and become a boy. It was canceled by the hospital, Tampa General Hospital, days before the surgery, and the mother was complaining about that. Wow, poor mother. Maybe you should spend some time in an insane asylum before you come back and mother your child anymore. Actually, I advocate for more than that, but we won't get into that. So all of these doctors, all of these parents, all of these medical professionals complaining because they can't trans the children. I guess probably because part of the fear stems from DeSantis' comments earlier this month when he said that doctors who perform these surgeries should just get sued. Watch.
Talk about these very young kids getting gender affirming care. What they don't tell you what that is they're actually giving very young girls double mastectomies. They want to castrate these young boys. That's wrong. And so we've stood up and said, both from the health and children well-being perspective, you don't disfigure 10, 12, 13-year-old kids based on gender dysphoria. 80% of it resolves anyways by the time they get older. So why would you be doing this? I think these doctors need to get sued for what's happening. I'm sorry.
How is it possible that we're living in a world where medical professionals feel comfortable complaining that they can't chop off 16-year-old girls' breasts? And they're like totally out in the open about it.
Yeah, I believe in American excellence. I believe in holding us to high standards, and I love the rhetoric there. I love the messaging from DeSantis. But in China, they would just hold a public execution for somebody like this, and just really quick. And people are like, "Oh, that's so barbaric." But then they watch shows like Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, great shows, by the way. The point is, our human thirst for violence is getting fulfilled in the media we consume, and it would actually be more productive if we just brought back public executions. There are countries in Latin America, for example, which noticed this trend of crimes being committed, and they were going viral, and the criminals were bragging about them. So the police started doing this thing where they were releasing videos of themselves. First, the crime being committed, like a carjacking, blah, blah, blah. Then it cuts to them, the police escorting this person out of the back of a pickup truck and then putting them against the wall, and you can guess what happened next. And it's like, they've seen this be very successful. And there's literally nothing worse than doing this to children. And I think that maybe it's time to draw the line and say, we're not just going to be Americans. You know what? Oh, you're going to cut my son's dick off? Well, how about I sue you for $1 million? And it's like, okay, that's not going to bring it back, So I think that we need to be serious and treat it very seriously, and then maybe, do something a little bit more extreme.
Wait, am I getting your watch in the swear jar?
Yes.
Wow.
Our friendship is worth so much more to me than this, and having offended you by using the D word, I don't even want it.
Taylor. What have you been up to today? Because you are on a roll. I will, just to put it mildly.
In a good way?
I'm not entirally sure yet.
I was going to say,
I had a pumpkin flavored coffee. It's my favorite time of the year.
You wild animal.
That's what it is. All the seed oils got you pumped up today.
Taylor, go ahead.
No, I agree with Doyle, but I don't know if I would have said it. But at the same time, I also agree with Doyle.
Oh, I've said on this program before, I believe that they should get the death penalty.
Yeah, well, there's no worse crime.
That's
the reality of it.
Correct.
I mean, you're chopping children's penises off. I didn't use the D word. I used the, terminology.
Don't use the D word around, so I'll break your jaw if you use the D word around. So disrespectful.
But no, chopping kids' penises off because they're a little bit confused or they play with Barbies or getting a double mastectomy. Oh no, am I supposed to feel bad for you that your appointment got canceled to chop your daughter's off?
Right.
Are you serious? No. This is the highest level of child abuse. And honestly, these people should be outcast, to say the least. And maybe we can just give them their own island and they can do all these surgeries themselves.
Don't we already have one? We already have an island that they do stuff like this?
I'm not sure that they do genital mutilation.
No, what they do is actually not even as bad, frankly. And this is controversial because we're so used to being like, pedophiles are the worst. True, but this is literally worse than that. And I think a simple thought experiment would prove that. If you as a parent, and I'm not a parent, so I don't know, would you rather have your child have their genitals mutilated or have them be molested?
Yeah, so to your point, this is very fascinating because one of these doctors who's performing these surgeries, who is, of course, on the side of the trans kids, which, as we know, there cannot be, they said they're prepared to undergo the procedure, and then you get a phone call that the surgery is now canceled. That's quite traumatic. As if chopping a girl's breasts off or, making a vagina out of skin on your arm and all of that goes along in the process is like, you don't think that that's traumatic, but the phone call telling them that they can't do it is just too much to bear.
My heart hurts for the 16-year-old who couldn't get her breast chopped off. That is truly so tragic. That's how you know we live in a third world country, is that, we can't even get an appointment scheduled and actually fulfilled to chop a 16-year-old off.
It is so
it's
wild.
Tragic.
Which, by the way, it's not even like we're against this. And then it's like, oh, they did it. Well, I guess we'll move on. The complications and the risks after the surgery, because your body perceives
60%?
What has happened to it to be a wound, and it's in a perpetual state of trying to heal. And so you have to do all these very weird things actively to prevent it from healing. The risk of infection and death is very high. I plug this every time we talk about it, but go to BitChute, watch how the sausage is made if you really want to know what this stuff is.
What was your quote from Mr. Misters about an axe wound? I think the audience would enjoy that.
I simply asked these single mothers who resent their ex-husbands and therefore their sons why they want to put an axe wound in between their son's legs. And this is like my Matt Walsh, what is a woman question. I'm going to go to all these places and ask, why do you want to put the axe wound in between your son's legs?
It's a great question.
And if you guys have seen, I know you guys have seen, but if the audience has seen the pictures of like post-surgery,
it is
when they create a dong.
That
I mean,
is
I will say
like
they are
you deserve
putting
to swear,
swinging dongs on these kids, though, like sausages, like triple sausages, but they look like aliens. They literally, it looks like you took someone's forearm, cut it from here, and then just sewed it on down there. I mean, I don't understand how anybody can look at that and be like, yeah, that's real.
All right, we're going to go to break. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Sweat Block. So, look, you guys, I realize that you can't control it, but there are some of you out there who, I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? I'm going to be honest with you because no one else in your life is being honest with you. You need Sweat Block because all of the wet underarm, gross, sweaty armpits going on all the time, especially here in Texas in the summer, is just, it's gross. And I know it's embarrassing to you, but the fact is there is a way to prevent it from happening. That is with Sweat Block wipes. You apply them at night and they will protect you from all of this embarrassing and gross sweat for like up to 7 days. I know this, not because I'm the sweaty beast, but because my husband is the sweaty beast. And he used them in like the height of the Texas summer and it really works. I know it works for Glenn Beck as well. He talks about it all the time. They've got the regular deodorant sticks also, if you'd like to try that as well. But I'm telling you, if you are sweaty, go get you some Sweat Block in your life. You can get 20% off over at sweatblock.com with promo code NEWS. That is sweatblock.com, promo code NEWS. Yesterday, Justice Department lawyers confirmed that the FBI took attorney-client protected documents from Mar-a-Lago. They acknowledged this in a submission to United States District Judge Eileen Cannon. The judge is also weighing a request from Trump's team to appoint a special master to review some of these documents as part of its national security-related criminal investigation. The judge said over the weekend that that her preliminary intent is to grant Trump's request for a special master, but she would not rule until she hears the government's arguments in full. And look, this would be huge if they would actually commit to this, because this is what Trump has been requesting all along. I find it hard to believe that the man who was right about when everyone else said he's a crazy person, no one spied on him, no one spied on his campaign. He obviously colluded with Russia, and he's over here the whole time saying, it wasn't me, it was them. They're the ones who did wrong. They're the ones who, conspired and colluded with the Steele dossier, which was completely made up. And he ended up being vindicated, and all of that ended up being true. I find it hard to believe that he would be pushing for the special master if it wasn't because he knew that it would vindicate him. I can't speak today. So it would be really great to see maybe a positive detail in this particular case come out. But gosh, the odds seem so stacked against him when it comes to the Department of Justice and the FBI and all things judicial system. I will not believe it until I see it happen.
Yeah, I think that we're going to find out that the historical record is going to owe a great apology to Donald Trump. And whenever he's precise about something, if you fact check him sincerely, he's never wrong. When he's wrong about things, it's because he likes to speak in very vague terms, like, we're building the greatest wall, it's the biggest we've ever seen, things like that. He just talks, maybe.
Okay, how about the vaccine?
I could. Okay. I am concerned about exceptional immorality. I think it is immoral to promote that. I do. But it's kind of the same genres when people are like, oh, the founding fathers, well, they owned slaves. Everybody at that time owned slaves. Every relevant public figure at the time was promoting the vaccine. DeSantis was too. Sorry, it's just true. Everyone was saying get the vaccine.
But he still is.
I agree. But, I think that there was probably some shady stuff that went on. I don't know what it is. Did he cuck on that issue? Sure. But it's not like anyone who likes Donald Trump is going to hear him say that and then actually do it. I think that something probably happened that compelled him, but I still think he's our best shot. But Trump is right about everything. That was my point. I forgot where I was going with that, but I still stand by it.
Okay. All right. You've said your piece, Taylor.
I mean, I don't like how he shills for the vaccine. I do think it's... There's got to be some special interests or something going on with him there. I mean, he's a businessman. We all know this.
I just think it could be as simple as ego.
I mean, it could be ego, too.
It was his pet project. It was a bad decision, but he can't admit it because he does love him or not. I love him. I'm not saying I've made up my mind for 2024. Neither is he. But He does have an ego that could prevent him from accepting wrong.
It's undeniable that he's probably narcissistic. Just a little bit, little bit of a narcissist.
I believe you have to be a little bit of a narcissist in order to run a country.
Oh, I could probably agree with you there. At least to the point of where Trump is, but I think where he's gone with the vaccine is and it's not like it's going to lose him support or lose him voters. People freak out about that on the right, and they're like, oh, he's shilling the vaccine still. Oh, it's Trump is working with the WEF, but of course it doesn't go that deep. It just goes to the point of he's probably making money off of it, or he's just too egotistical to actually admit that he was wrong and that these shots are killing people because it was his baby.
So speaking of the vaccine, I want to play for you this amazing exchange between, of course, affirmative action failure, Karine Jean-Pierre, White House press secretary, and Peter Doocy over a tennis player's inability to play in the United States Open due to its vaccine requirements and how this differs from letting unvaccinated illegal immigrants in the country. Watch.
How come migrants are allowed to come into this country unvaccinated, but world-class tennis players are not?
Visa records are confidential under U.S. law. Therefore, the U.S. government cannot discuss the details of individual visa cases. Due to privacy reasons, the U.S. government also does not comment on medical information.
How is it two different things? Somebody unvaccinated comes over on a plane. You say that's not okay. Somebody walks into Texas or Arizona unvaccinated, they're allowed to stay. Why?
But that's not how it works. Like we actually, no.
I know that that's not what you guys want to happen, but that is what has happened.
But that's not, it's not like somebody walks over and that's not how.
That's exactly what's happening.
Literally.
Thousands of people are walking in a day. Some of them turn themselves over. Some of them are caught. Tens of thousands a week are not. That is what is happening.
I can't. That's not how it works, Taylor. You didn't walk across the border.
I didn't cross the Rio Grande with immigrants,
with a bunch of illegal immigrants. No, that's not how it works, okay?
I will say, some of the worst diseases, some of the worst sicknesses I've ever gotten is from reporting on migrants crossing into America at the border. My immune system is probably insane. I'm like Superman now, my immune system, because of the type of people that I come in contact with at the border. People from, Ecuador, Venezuela, Somalia, literally all around the world. People aren't even coming in from Mexico anymore. All the Mexicans are already here. It's not even about that anymore. But it's literally from every single country in the world, and you're telling me that that's not what's happening. It's like I've literally watched hundreds and thousands be processed in a single day, and then they're put on a bus and shipped off into whatever city they're told to go to. Or they're even better, they're put on planes because people that aren't vaccinated can't fly into the country, but they're put on planes and they can be redistributed all across America, and they don't even get COVID tested either. But that's not what's happening.
That's not.
No way.
The White House press secretary said it, okay?
It's medical information. It's private.
Yeah, that's how we know. That's not how it works because this brainiac over here said it.
Well, in her defense, it is more of a march. When you take into context like the large amounts of people all in uniform.
A hike, maybe?
It is more of a, well, I wouldn't necessarily say hike. That implies more planning at the centralized level in terms of your rucksack or whatever. This is more of a top-down orchestration, funded by all this weird shadow money. But yeah, we were coming back from Austin actually for the White Boy Summer Weekend, and we stopped at a rest stop, and one of these migrant buses was there, and there's all these people filing in, all not women and children, like military-age men, all filing into the rest stop. And I had this moment where there was this very real, like, ancestral blood memory where I was like staring these people down, having like a real, like, racist uncle moment where I was like, you shouldn't be here. Go back, like, leave. And so, yeah, vaccinated, unvaccinated, I don't care. They all need to go back, all back. They're not sending their best, Sarah. You're an exception, but they're bringing drugs.
I'm an American citizen.
Yeah, they're bringing crime.
I was born here.
They're rapists. They're bringing disease. Some, I assume, are good people, but no, they all need to go back because, and we're like surprised that this has been the result. Like, you are importing the third world, and the country is now becoming like the third world. It's like, that's the ultimate question that we need to answer is like, can non-Western people perpetuate Western civilization? I think the answer is an astounding no, they cannot. And it just is the case.
And when you bring over inherently violent cultures, because that's where a lot of these people are coming from. They're fleeing tragedies, they're fleeing dictatorships, and just the culture. I mean, you look at the Afghanis, for example. You know, when the migrant crisis really first started, and we just decided, yeah, let's fly all these Afghanis over. Yeah. I mean, the rape rates within the Afghanis are increasingly high compared to Americans or other countries. And that's for a reason. But you're going to mix all these cultures and, you know, the melting pot, great America, that's what we're supposed to be. No, it's a joke. But when you mix these cultures together, they don't mesh. They just form almost little sub-pockets, and then the culture bleeds into each other, and then you end up with higher crime rate, you end up with more sexual assaults, and it goes all around the board.
Even if you, like, let's take, and I agree with both of you, but let's just say, hypothetically, just for argument's sake, that all of the people who were coming over here were coming over for a better life, and they were all very good people, and no rapists, no. But I'm saying, like, how would you also not assume that if you were allowing these people in without vetting them, that other people would not take advantage of that terrorists would not try to infiltrate and cross our borders? Like, how could you not? It blows my mind that they don't comprehend that even let's say that that's the case and all of the people are coming over here in search of a better life. Well, what happens when you open the door and don't do any checks? You don't think that there are going to be bad people who try to take advantage of that?
That's literally exactly what's happening. Is the large majority of these people coming over is, yeah, they do want a better life. They're coming to America because it's the land of opportunity and they want to be here. They want to indulge in the culture. At least that's what they say they do. But then they get here and they don't like the culture and they realize that culture back home is honestly better and more moral and less corrupt for a lot of these people. But when you mix them in with each other, I mean, something bad is bound to happen. We're not meant to just coexist like this. I mean, yeah, we can coexist, we can be human beings, but when you're sending millions every quarter, I mean, that's insane. You're not going to be able to track the terrorists. You're not going to be able to stop. Yeah, you might catch an occasional terrorist trying to cross the border, but I can literally go down to Eagle Pass right now, walk across the Rio Grande and not be detained by Border Patrol. It's that easy. Yeah. I mean, you can walk right into this country. You could be, I mean, Osama bin Laden can crawl out of the sea tomorrow and literally cross our southern border and not be apprehended.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back.
My boy Osama. I did nothing wrong.
Yesterday, this program, along with everyone else in the entire world, joked that Robert Francis O'Rourke may have put his campaign on pause due to monkeypox. Well, don't worry. Reuters is at it again, and they made sure to fact-check the entire joke by saying that following O'Rourke's statement shared online, users speculated that he had contracted monkeypox. The claims and speculation do not cite a source, and spokesman for O'Rourke told Reuters that the claims are inaccurate. He does only have a bacterial infection. Guys, we know.
A bacterial infection, huh?
We know,
How is his dog doing?
I don't know. I cannot confirm nor deny if his dog has any lesions. I don't know. I have no idea. I still have questions, though, as far as how you contract a bacterial infection serious enough to land you in the hospital, feeling very ill.
Well, serious enough to have you pause your campaign, which we know is literally, it's a tragedy for anyone that does it. I mean, Beto O'Rourke, I hope you lose. But I mean, people in the past that just pause their campaign in the middle of campaigning, it usually never turns out well for them. Yeah. So it had to be pretty important.
But I would just like to point out the left has no sense of humor because they couldn't even, it's like, yeah, it was like, you don't need to fact check this, it was a joke. I thought we were clear on that. I thought that was clear.
Yeah, to have a sense of humor, you have to have a low level of narcissism because you have to be able to take a joke, and then you have to have a low level of neuroticism because you want to be able to have a good understanding of the world around you, and the left doesn't exactly have those things. So yeah, of course they can't take a joke, and they're like, the memes that they make aren't even funny.
No.
Look at Saturday Night Live.
No,
when is
horrible.
the last time that has ever been funny?
I can't even remember.
I don't recall.
Decades. Since my good friend Rob Schneider was on there, it was funny.
Well, SNL is actually drag, apparently. So
my good friend,
according to the ISD teacher.